All right, we're going into a lumbermill deep dive today. I'm going to show you how to create an ingest preflight for plates. This is one of the probably more common than not. Studios don't have something like this, but more common than not, this preflight would solve a ton of problems. So this is why we're kind of starting off with this as the first in this sort of educational series of how to use preflights in production. So we don't have a project in here, so I'm just going to create one. I'm going to call it, let's just call it plate test. Okay. So I'm going to go in here. The thing that I'm trying to solve is ingest, so I'm just going to go here and get ready. So this wants me to drag in some stuff. One of the things I really like for testing, just, I don't know, it's kind of cool to know. I didn't really know about this until a little while ago. There's a show online called Tears of Steel. It's an open source VFX project. I think Blender was involved with it, and it's pretty kick-ass. So they've got a bunch of EXRs, and I love using these for tests. I only need a little bit of them. They're like 50 megs each. So when we're talking about converting EXRs, I don't want to do a tutorial and make you guys sit through conversion of like 1,000 EXRs. So we're going to do like 17 of them, and that's more than enough. So I'm just going to drag these in. Lumbermill is going to put them into the client area, and then we can start work. So if I just hit publish right now, let's see, let's do shots. We're going to give it a sequence of 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and I'm going to call it a plate. So now it's tagged and I can publish it. If I hit publish right now, it's going to have a preflight that's a default preflight, which is awesome. This would publish our stuff, but it's not going to do any of the conversion to JPEG that we want for our proxies within Nuke. It's not going to do the QuickTime movie generation. It's not going to do any of that. So I want to make a custom preflight for a plate publish, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's open up our tools. We'll go to the preflight designer. It starts out on Ingest just because of, you know, a lucky alphabetical thing. So the software that we're designing a preflight for is the Ingest tool. We've got the default, so you can see the label that we just saw, the publish from Ingest tool, is right there. This has the default code for what we do when we publish from the Ingest tool. So there's no reason to change this. As you get more sophisticated, you might want to change this. So I'm just gonna use this exact code for the first step in my plate preflight. So I'm gonna add a preflight. We're gonna call this a plate because that's what it is. And for now, we have to use things that are within the task dictionary that you have in your globals. So we've got plate as one of the tasks in our globals, and we're just gonna add it. So first thing I'm going to do, add a preflight step. This preflight step is going to be publish plate. Okay. So it gives me that right out the box. If I want to actually test this, I can just uncomment that and hit pass check. In fact, we can just design this whole preflight right now. So one of the things that we're going to need is to add a preflight for creating proxies, and these are going to be full res proxies. So I'm going to call this create proxy, and I'm just going to assume that's going to be full res, create full res proxy. Okay, I'm going to uncomment the pass check because I want to actually test this and see all the print statements happen before I write any code. So I'm going to add another preflight step, and we're going to call this one, what are we going to call this one? Create HD proxy, because I want an HD version of this, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to add another preflight. Well, HD is nice because if I want stuff to be even faster, I can use the HD proxy in Nuke. Also, I like using, because I know that I can create JPEGs that are in the sRGB color space that look like they basically JPEGs that look right if I'm just looking at them on my screen without any kind of lookup table. I can create those really easily with image magic, and with the built-in functions from the convert module within lumbermill. So I'm going to make an HD proxy because I'm going to make a movie out of that. And then my movie will be the right color space as well when I look at it on the web or wherever. Color space is always an issue. These are some easy ways to kind of get you some basics that are correct. Anytime color is involved, you're going to want to go deeper at some point. But this is what I would do to set up a small studio day one before you get into really sophisticated color deliverables. So we're going to add another step, create HD movie. I'm using the syntax that Python does for classes because we're creating a class in here. So I'm going to add another one, and this is just for kicks, just for me to show you what things you can do within lumbermill. Create GIF. It's just part of the module, and I like it because I like putting GIFs in places. And I've always wanted something where, like, if I had a GIF of something in an interface like the lumbermill interface, I could see what a sequence of images was before I even opened it, which is going to be useful long term, which is why we have that within the lumbermill convert module. So anyway, just showing you it's there so that you can use it if you want. So let's uncomment all these passes so that we can actually get through the whole preflight. Actually, I'll leave one on so you can see what happens if you don't. So if I save that and close it, I'm going to reopen lumbermill so that I can make sure that I get all of the code that we just created. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and let's hit the publish button. Now lumbermill is smart enough to find that it was a plate publish, or to check if there's a plate preflight, and pull it up. So if I hit run all, it's going to fail at create HD proxy. We already know why it failed, because we didn't uncomment that part of it. But I want to show you how that stuff works so that you kind of get it. There we go. Check passed. And one of the things that we can do right away is make these a little bit more verbose. HD proxy created. There we go. And then I'm just going to do full res proxy created. Always with the exclamation point, because that's super important. Movie created. Yes. GIF created. Okay. So now let's just check that. We're gonna take that. It does not want to remember my sequence. We're gonna hit publish. Oh, sorry, we got to restart lumbermill. Okay. Okay, gonna hit publish, and let's just run all of them. All of them passed, and if we look at our feedback, GIF created, movie created, HD proxy created, full res proxy created, and publish plate was done. Okay, so we know this stuff is working now, and we can get it to pass all the checks, and all it's doing is printing, so that's not that big of a deal. Let's now start actually writing the code. This stuff, I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. I might do this in PyCharm just so that you can see that you can. Let's like clear mine out so that there's not a bunch of crap in there. and this is really just, I'll do it a couple of ways. So if I open up my Preflight designer, I'm first going to make my publish plate thing work. And by doing that, I'm just going to pull from the default. So I'm going to Control A, Control C, Control A, Control V. Now I've got my default publish. I have to change the class name so that it matches this. And I'm just going to do this, publish plate. All right, so so that one's for free. The publish is just going to work because it just does. Once you get more sophisticated, you can change things in here depending on what it is that you're publishing. But this is a really great place to start with. And we won't get into how all of this code works just yet. That'll be kind of its own tutorial of how we created that. So when I go into create proxy, we just need to create a proxy. Okay, we're gonna make this super easy because this is such a common problem. It needs to be super easy. We've got a lumbermill module that just handles this. So when I go from CGL core dot convert, it's the convert module that does this, import create proxy. Now all we have to do is run that. So first thing though is I want to explain this cool feature of the Preflight designer. I've got this attribute within the Preflight itself called shared data. I'm just going to create a variable within shared data called proxy. Now, the proxy is going to be the result of us creating the proxy. So when I run create proxy, I'm going to feed it a variable that we've defined within the publish plate, which is, let's see, if I go back to publish plate, I can look over here when I'm in sequence. There we go. Publish file. That's the one that I want. I want this variable that we've defined here to feed create proxy. So what's happening is we give it the published file, which is our EXR sequence, and it's going to create JPEG proxies of the same resolution, and it's going to give us the path to that, which we can then use in the next one if we want to. But that's it. That's all the code that I need to create that. All right, so now we're going to create a HD proxy. This is a common enough thing that I kind of wanted to make it like stupid easy to do this. So I actually made a module for that, which the jury's still out on whether I'm going to keep that, but now that I'm making a tutorial, we'll probably keep it. So anyway, from CGL core.convert import create HD proxy. Same thing. We're going to create a variable that we can use in another one. HD proxy create HD proxy, and then we'll just pull this one from here. And that's going to create the HD proxy. So, oh man, I called it HD proxy. That's going to annoy me from the rest of time, but whatever. I don't really have a rename function in here yet, so when you do that kind of stuff, you're either going to have to create a new one or just live with it forever. Create HD proxy. All right, so I'll kind of show you a way to fix that, because this is probably going to be something that comes up for you guys as well. But now I have this thing and it's kind of working the way I want. If I wanted to fix that, the way you have to do it is you add that and then let's spell it right, create HD Proxy, hit OK. That made a new one. I'm just gonna move that up here so it's in the right order, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste this into this, fix the spelling, matches there, and then I should be good. And now I can just delete that step. So now I've got create HD proxy. It's doing the thing that I want, and I've also successfully showed you how to fix spelling errors if you have them in your module names. Because remember, we're creating Python modules in here. We're just trying to do it in as easy of a way possible, so that you don't have to worry about the management of the files, which is what lumbermill is trying to do with everything, is get rid of the management of the files so we can just do the work that we want to do. So let's create the HD movie now. What's cool about this whole process is when we create the proxies, the code in here will create, we're using ImageMagick, and we're going, which is an open source command line tool. We're going to create files that just work with the color space, and you don't really have to think much more than that. Now, once you have a bigger pipeline team and more sophisticated needs, you're going to want to think. But the point is trying to get you stuff that just works out of the box, so that you can kind of worry more about your pipeline as a whole than like really esoteric color stuff. For that, a lot of times you just need to hire a color specialist, and you can kind of get this stuff done pretty quickly. But anyway, got to put the disclaimers in there because somebody's going to comment and say, well, technically there you've got to use the lookup table and the blah blah blah. And yes, I know that. But we're doing stuff that works for 80% of the cases and is easy as our first pass at this stuff. So back to how do we create a movie within lumbermill. This is going to create, we're using FFmpeg for QuickTime generation, and it's going to allow us to create an MP4 that works on the web and has a pretty decent quality level. Again, there's a million settings in this FFmpeg stuff, and you can get crazy custom with this stuff. But for a good default, this works. So we're going to just run this because I don't really need this variable for anything else. I just need my proxy variable. Grab that, copy it, paste it, and so now I've got my movie. That is going to create it. And let's just do our GIF or GIF, depending on who you are. Let's see here. For this, we've got a module from CGL core.convert, import, create GIF proxy, create GIF thumb. So now we just do these. Create GIF proxy. Now I just want to feed it the HD proxy again, so I'm just going to copy and paste that. Create GIF thumb. Copy and paste that. That's going to do that for me. Okay, so these are like one-liners, so I just wrote them in here. But one of the things that I'll do, because like this is okay, like we've done a pretty good job of giving you like a text highlighted like Python text entry field, but this is by no means a full-fledged Python editor. So I like to just check these things in PyCharm. And I've got PyCharm listed as my default for opening .py files on my Windows system. So lumbermill is just looking to what your system settings are to open. So if you've got this set for Notepad or whatever, it'll just open in Notepad. If you're a pipeline TD, I highly recommend getting PyCharm though and setting that up. So open that in the editor. The reason I do that is just to check for spelling mistakes and stuff like that, because PyCharm will give me that. So let's just open all of these. Create HD proxy, open. Interesting. Save. Okay. Open. All right. So create HD proxy, nothing wrong there. I'm just gonna put the line that Pep8 wants in there just cause. I should probably put that in the default someday. Open an editor, open an editor. Okay, so create GIF. I'm just gonna give it that. I'm gonna give it that. Okay, so I should be good here. I'm gonna close that, close lumbermill, reopen lumbermill. And now I should have a plate publish that actually works. Okay, publish. All right, that worked. I'm not quite brave enough to just run all on this, so I'm gonna run selected. We're gonna see what happens there. That passed. I'm going to show you this in the background so that you can kind of see the feed. This would be coming out in your command line thing that comes up when you launch lumbermill. So I'll run that one, execute a command. You can see what it's doing. It's got an image magic command, and it is doing a sequence of images with that image magic command. That passed. HD proxy. Doing the same thing. Passed. I'm feeling good. Passed on the HD movie. Passed on everything. That's kick-ass. When that happens, you're basically ready. This is like production ready, which is pretty sweet. So if I go home, back to here, shots, let's look at what we got here. I've got a bunch of stuff in here. If I go over to here and open that up, oh, damn it. Let's see if I can pause it. There we go. It opened this thing up. It is a really nice looking QuickTime full HD. And so that worked. My HD proxy, I don't think I have anything set to do that. Made a bunch of JPEGs. And there they are. So it did everything that it needed to do, put it under the publish, and everything is ready to go. Okay. That is it. In like 25 minutes, we solved a bunch of problems that studios struggle with for years. So that is super cool to me. And the coolest part about this is when you've got these preflights set up, they just exist forever. Like, I've got my plate preflight right now. Anything breaks, or if some new thing starts to happen and you're like, oh, well, we actually need this to happen every time a plate gets published or ingested from the client, you can just add the step. That is probably the most exciting thing about this stuff, is like we can just quickly, extremely quickly solve problems and never have them again, which is huge for creative production. So that is how to create a plate ingestion preflight and how to manage those plate ingestions within lumbermill.